welcome to uGather. If you can have a seat, we're about to begin. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's so good to see you all. I will tell you, one of my absolute favorite things about being chaplain here at Union is I love imagining what all the good God-fearing work that you all are going to do in this world after you graduate, whether that's good God-fearing work through teaching or preaching or running your own business or running an entire healthcare system, whatever that looks like. I just cannot wait for those moments, and I hope that I get a bunch of Christmas cards from you guys, and you guys keep me updated of what you're going to be doing in this world. But the reason why I know that you're going to be doing such good God-fearing work in the world is because I see you all leading here at Union and doing good God-fearing work here today. And one thing that is just really exciting is the business department. What they do annually is today for uGather, they have invited good God-fearing leaders back to Union to come and share with us some wisdom with all of us. They have once been students at Union, and now they are off doing good God-fearing work in the business world. And so I'm so excited for the program today. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being here to bless us. And that leads me to one of our first announcements is tomorrow we have family worship here in Woods at 7:30 p.m. And I want to invite you personally, come out to worship with us. And we have one of our speakers here, and I think that you'll meet her today. It is Gina Creek. She once was in campus ministries back in the day, and now she's off doing awesome, good God-fearing work in the business world. And I just can't wait to hear the word that she has for us tomorrow. So make sure that you come out for family worship. And our next announcement, I'm going to invite Lulu. Let's see, here we go.
Well, hey guys, my name's Lulu, and I wanted to invite you guys to join our new club called Unidos. And if you've already joined, I wanted to encourage you guys to check your emails and RSVP for our first event at Martha's house this Sunday at 5:30. And it's going to be a dinner/movie night, very family style. And yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, give it up for Lulu. All right, you want to come up next?
Good morning, my name is Susan Condado, and I have two quick announcements from Pre-Health Society. As you may know, the drive that is going on for Foster Care Closet is going on until March 9th, so if you still would like to support, you can drop the items off in the Reese or Prescott bins, and right now the Reese bins are taking the lead, so for now, it seems like the women will get Chick-fil-A catered on March 11th, so unless, guys, you want to turn that around, but just so you know, the Chick-fil-A will be catered at 6 p.m. at the Reese lobby. And last but not least, we have an Ivy Lab going on at 11 a.m. in case you'd like to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and for our final announcement, Mr. Braden and Miss Ellie.
How's it going, guys? As you guys know, there's something big happening this Saturday night. What is it? Our first ever union pitch competition is happening this Saturday night. We have 7 teams pitching, 5 pristine judges. It's going to be awesome. 6:30 this Saturday night.
We are so excited to have you guys come out and watch. These teams have been working with professional mentors from the community and around the nation, and with our professors here to work to make really good and entertaining and interesting pitches. So I would just ask you guys, you do not have to pitch. All you have to do is come and watch and vote on your favorite, because the fans will be voting on their favorite pitch, and the winner gets $100. And that could potentially be on top of their $2,000 grand prize if they end up winning first place. So please come, support your friends. There will be food. There will be some little snacks. It will be here in Woods on Saturday at 6:30. So please come out for our first pitch competition.
Thank you.
Amen and amen. All right, now I'm going to invite our scripture reading up.
Hey guys, I just want to say welcome once again to uGather. I know there's a lot of professors or people here who are just helping out students, so thank you for that. And then for those who are just taking some time out of your week to be able to connect with God, I just want to say welcome too. So today's scripture is going to be found in Mark 10, 42, 45, and they're in the screens, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says, "But Jesus called the disciples together and said, 'You know that those who are appointed to rule over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. But it should not be so among you. Whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever among you would be the greatest must be servant of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many.'"
Good morning, everybody. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for coming to this special business awareness series, uGather. For those who don't know, business awareness series is something that the business program does, and they bring leaders from the local area or from around the nation and just have them talk to the business students. So for the business students, don't forget to sign the sheet in the back to say that you were here. And I have the honor of introducing these three lovely ladies today. So grateful to have them here. Let me open my quick. I'm excited to introduce our panelists for today. We have Michelle Fuentes here, the CEO of Advent Health Castle Rock in Colorado. Camille Caldal, who is from Kansas City and is the Director of Strategic Operations. And we have Kay Barnett, who's the CEO of Advent Health Mineola in Florida, which just opened in December. Thank you so much, ladies, for being here and taking time out of your busy schedules to come and talk to us. To start off, would each of you describe your career path from union to your role in top leadership now?
They've nominated me to start. All right, so my career path is kind of a boring one. At least I think it is. You might not think it is. I graduated from Union with a finance and management degree, and my parents said, "Go move to Orlando, Florida. That's where your cousin Sam works." So Sam Unigart, my cousin, was living in Florida at the time, and so I moved down to Florida, and I worked in something we call the basement. Yes, if any of you have been there, I don't think it exists quite like it did when I worked there, but it was pink cubicles, and I was a financial analyst, and I remember getting paid $16 an hour in my first job. And I worked in the basement for a couple of years before I went out to a hospital called Florida Hospital East Orlando, which is close to the airport in Orlando, and I worked as the director of finance there for a few years. And then when I was telling the ladies this morning, when I was about 28, I was approached by the CEO and asked if I wanted to step into a chief operating officer role, which was crazy. So I went from managing 0 people to having 1,100 people that I was responsible for. We're still friends today, that CEO and I. But then I ended up having kids and then stepping away from being an executive for a couple of years, and I worked in an architectural firm, designing and building hospitals in Florida, and then had a chance to move to California to work for our sister company, Adventist Health System, and I was the CEO of a hospital in Northern California out there. And then because I was born and raised in Colorado and I love Advent Health, when an opportunity to move back to Colorado opened, there was a CEO job at Castle Rock, then moved my family to Castle Rock. So that is my journey from Union to today.
Thank you. Camille?
Yeah, so I graduated Union in 2018, which now starts to feel a little bit longer ago than I remember it being. And so I graduated as a business administration student with an emphasis in marketing and management. During my time at Union, I had 2 summer internships that both happened to be at Advent Health. My first was in Orlando, which was an interesting time in that experience. I think that was a summer the Pulse shootings had happened, and there's a couple other things that happened, and I said, I love Advent Health. I don't know about Florida right now. And did my second summer in Kansas City, which is where I was born and raised. I was born in Shawnee Mission Hospital when it was not as pretty as it is today. And so after my time there, I had a really great mentor who, during my senior year at Union, had basically given me a phone call during Thanksgiving break and said, hey, I have a job and I would like to create it, and I think you'd be great for it. And it was for a business analyst role. And I said, that's cool, don't know what that means, but it sounds like an awesome opportunity to learn. And so after I graduated, I got married, I went on a honeymoon, and I started my job. So I quickly kind of got in the workforce and did that role for about a year and a half. And during that time, my boss, who was a VP at that point, was the executive sponsor of a couple different projects that were happening in Kansas City. One of them was a new emergency department offsite, and so I got to open that and get project management experience, and got to help with the startings as we started thinking about a new hospital in Kansas City. And so through that experience and exposure, I ended up in the leadership residency program, which is not the typical path. I did that for 2 years, and then went into manager of strategic, and I think it was strategic planning and business development, which was a really long-winded title, and did that for 2 years, and it was a team of 2. And quickly after that, I transitioned into the role that I am now, which is Director of Strategic Operations. So I lead a team of 2 that does project management just for the entire region, which honestly, with how much we're growing, probably needs to be a little bit of a bigger team. So I think last year alone we had over $100 million worth of projects opening up in 1 year. So it's a lot that's happening. And then I also serve as chief of staff for our regional CEO and CFO, which one of them happens to be related to this lady over here. So it's been a really great experience and a lot of mentorship along the way, and I've really appreciated just those connections and relationships, because that's really kind of guided me to where I am today.
And my name's Kay. I graduated in 2010 here from Union. I graduated with a degree in business with an emphasis in marketing and a minor in communications. And when I first graduated in 2010, I don't know if you guys remember, but in 2028, we had the big recession. And so even in 2010, the job market was not great. And I was just wanting to get any job that I could. And so my first job out of Union was actually working for the Lincoln Journal-Star, doing advertising sales for one of their direct mail products. And it was a great job that taught me a lot, but it also taught me I did not want to do sales for my entire career. And so about a year later, I had the opportunity to take a role in Florida with what was then Florida Hospital, doing internal communications. So I got to build all of the presentations for our campus CEO, build all of the employee website, and do that type of work, and I found out I really loved it. And so along the way, I had different leaders approach me with different stretch assignments that I got to be a part of and take responsibility for. And I got to the point where I had to make a choice. What did I want to do next? And I was asked, do you want to go the operations route? Do you want to think about doing something like business development? And at the time, I did not know in college what business development in healthcare even was or what that would look like. But that was the route I started to go, and I got to do some exciting projects working on service lines within our hospitals, talking about what are those new physicians that we're going to bring to an area, what are some of the new services that we want to grow and bring to our communities. And that led me down a path of various roles in business development and strategic planning, both serving local hospitals as well as our division. And most recently, I've had the opportunity now to step into a CEO position for our newest hospital, like Ellie said, that just opened in December, which has been a really rewarding experience and great to be back at a local campus, really being where care is provided and getting to interact with the frontline team members, the nurses, and the frontline team who cares for patients every day.
Thank you. So you each have worn like very different hats throughout your career, and those changes can kind of be difficult. So what was the biggest transition or like the most difficult part of those transitions in your career?
I would say going from when I moved to Sonora, California, I was the chief operating officer, and pretty quickly in that role, my CEO got promoted, and so they asked me to step in and to assume the CEO responsibilities, and I actually didn't think it would be as hard as it ended up being. I worked I worked with CEOs as a COO for 8 or 9 years, and I thought, oh, I've got this. And the reality is that when you realize the weight of the responsibility that you now have, and that ultimately those decisions lie with you, and if it was an easy problem to solve, it would have been solved before it got to my level. And so you get all the hard decisions, you get to make the decisions that impact people, whether you're laying off people or whether you're closing a service, and you have to be the one that stands in that space. You're also the one that can go to jail, and I don't think that sunk in either until I was in this job. So I remember, my pharmacy director saying, I'm gonna need you to sign this stuff, and it was for the DEA, and if narcotics go missing, you could end up in jail. And I was like, ugh, let's not let that happen. And so you've really got to make sure you have people in place that you trust and all those types of things. So it was a lot harder transitioning to a CEO job than I anticipated.
If I could tag on to that, Michelle, I think similarly, when I made that transition into the CEO role, I had been in strategic planning and business development roles for over 10 years. So I had gone from being the subject matter expert in a space that I knew really well by that point to now leading teams where I can't go be a nurse. I can't even be the facilities man who fixes our air conditioning unit, and yet I have to lead these teams. And so really honing in on learning how to ask the right questions, how to trust your team and be there to remove barriers for them, and then also make sure that you are staying abreast of what happens in even the spaces that you're not the subject matter expert.
Yeah, I've not had the weight and responsibility that these two have had quite yet. My transition when I think back on that time and the time that I've had since I've been a working adult now, I think really for me it was my first job, and part of that was it was a role that didn't exist before I had gotten there. I think I even was emailed the job description and was told, hey, let me know if there's anything you want to add. I said, I don't even know what I'm gonna do, so I don't know what I'll add. So that was really tough to walk into a space where I just didn't know how I was going to be helpful. And my personality type is like, I want to go and feel like by the end of the day, I can check something off the list that I feel fulfilled and that I made a difference. In those first, I'd say 6 to 9 months, it did not feel that way. I felt very not busy, and that I wasn't sure what I was accomplishing and what I should be doing or shouldn't be doing. I was also newly married, bought a house. My husband went back to school full time. We were just living on my salary. So it felt like there was just a lot of things that I was learning all at once in one very short period of time, that I feel like it was kind of one of the moments I felt the most stretched on trying to figure out what my life is gonna look like and where do I go from here. So I feel like that was one of the moments that I look back on now, and I treasure the time that I had and wished I had more hours in the day where I thought the time was ticking away very slowly. So I think it's just really tough because especially when you don't have any experience or a lot of, deep-rooted experience and expertise, it's really hard to walk into a space and feel like, how do I bring value to this space? And a lot of it is asking really good questions, knowing who the experts are, and building relationships so that you might not know the answer, but you know who to phone a friend to and learn very quickly. And after 6 to 9 months, I started getting my feet underneath me and understanding how I could bring value in my own way. And that was a really important step to make to start feeling like I was truly a part of the team.
What's the hardest part of your job right now? I know that Kay, you have recently stepped into the CEO, and just from working with somebody that stepped in from a project management side of opening a hospital to an operation side, like that's hard. But as you guys have had your roles for a little bit longer and you're stepping into yours, what's kind of the hardest part of your job? And then what's one of the most important things about being a leader in that job?
For me, one of the hardest things about my job is balancing the responsibility of making sure that things are working well today while also having to be responsible about thinking for the future and thinking ahead to what's next for our campus, what's that next phase of growth, and balancing those two worlds is a difficult space to be in.
I'd say for me in my role, it's bringing calm and clarity to chaos in project management, and even in my role as chief of staff, there's a lot of plates in the air and a lot of collaboration that's happening, and through that, there becomes a lot of things that come up that are naturally problems. And so really trying to be there for my team to help them think about a new way to approach a problem, or how can we not experience this next time. I feel like that's really where I'm trying to bring guidance to them. And then I feel like there's a second part to your question.
Yes. What do you consider the most important thing you do as a leader?
I think, especially being in a leadership role where I now have direct reports for the first time, is knowing when you need to speak up and when to influence your team and when to sit back and just listen to your team and let them kind of figure out some of that. I think it's just been different being in a position where now I'm actually leading people versus before when I was doing a lot of project management. It's all leading through influence. I have no people who I can actually tell them to go do something and they technically have to do it. And so figuring out where to use that balance, I think, has been something that I've been learning a lot more recently in this new role.
Right now, my largest challenge at work is really around people. I have some key leadership people who are transitioning out of the organization. One has been promoted to a chief nurse in Georgia, so she's moving. Another is being relocated to Texas because of her husband's job, and another is transitioning into retirement. And so I've got some really key positions that are being vacated, and it's really important from a culture perspective to hire the right people and make sure that you're hiring someone that you would follow. And so we're in the middle of interviews, and those are things that are weighing on me a little bit to make sure that we find the right people in those jobs. Because one of my biggest responsibilities is to set the culture and to set the tone of the organization. I realized when I first became a CEO 8 or 9 years ago, I was told that you're the new chief mission officer. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, that's your job. It was the director of mission who told me at the time, to be fair. But it took me about a month to realize, oh, I am the chief mission officer. And so wherever my heart goes, the organization goes. And so I take that job very seriously and make sure that in all of my communication, whether it's written or when I'm standing up in front of people, we talk about why we're here, and make sure that we're always bringing it back to like the core of who we are as people, that we're a faith-based organization, and that's what sets us apart and makes us different. It doesn't make us weird different, it makes us cool different, because people feel something different when they walk into our hospital. And so, so then when you have leaders that are changing out that are in really important roles, you also need to make sure that you're hiring people that understand that value as well, because when you're not there, when I'm not there, they need to be carrying this message for me.
What previous role that you held best prepared you for what you're doing now? It could be in your like professional career, or even like something that you experienced in college, or a leadership role that you had here, if that applies.
I mean, I think all of my roles did in each an individual way, both in good ways and in bad ways. You pick up things that you carry with you that you want to keep doing, and you learn things that you would never do again, or you don't want to do like the person you saw lead that area. But I think back to even my first role at Advent Health in communications, having to sit in the role where I'm building presentations for a CEO and watching how he chose to communicate with his team and how he used that to set the tone for the spiritual culture of our campus and how our team would deliver results and performance for our patients, that was really transformative for me. It gave me a lot of lessons that I've used all along the way and that I still go back to today in my role.
I'd say for me, it was the leadership residency program. And that mainly was around the fact that you are in a position where you have to say yes to a lot of different things and stretch yourself probably the most you've ever been stretched. I think you said stretch, you said something about stretch, like a stretch opportunity? Yeah, a lot of stretch opportunities. And so I think there's so much exposure and opportunity that is in that program, and the more you take advantage of it, the more busier you are. And for me, it helped me understand, what are my boundaries? Like, when is too much? When do I need to start saying no and prioritizing something over something else, and where my time is spent? And so for me, it really helped me understand, like, what's my capacity and how much can I do? And I'm someone who also ruminates a lot in my head and overthinks things and tries to think about 20 steps ahead from now that some of it probably doesn't even matter anymore. But that experience helped me to let go of some of that and realize that we do end up figuring out a lot of that stuff. You don't need to stress about all of it. And especially if you have a good team and you've learned some really good skills, you figure a lot of that out. And so it's made me stress out a lot less. It makes me know what I'm capable of. And that's helped me be a lot more confident in the roles that I've had after that experience.
You guys, Union's so awesome. I would just say that there are so many senior leaders who are in Advent Health that come from Union. And I think a big reason for that is our incredible business program. We are very lucky. Any of you in the audience who are in the business program, very lucky to have the baseline that you're going to receive in education here. I would tell you, I think one of the most important parts for my career was all of the experience I got in school here with finance and accounting, although I got out of accounting classes as soon as I could. But nonetheless, then starting off in finance and really understanding how a hospital works from a financial perspective gives you the foundation, or at least gave me the foundation I needed to be able to grow in my career, expand into operations, become a CEO. I don't need someone to explain a financial statement to me, and I think that that's really important. And so I would say that was one of the most important parts of my career. And then, unbeknownst to me, motherhood is also a really good help when you are trying to lead people, because leading your people at work is often like leading your children at home. And I don't mean that in an insulting way, but you want to treat your teams fairly, you want to be consistent, right? So there's a lot of things that you learn from motherhood that applies to work. And sometimes I want to put people in timeout for 41 minutes. But nonetheless, there's still some very good lessons between motherhood and being a leader.
So as we look out onto the crowd, there's a lot of different students in a lot of different phases of life, whether they're seniors and they're going to graduate in a couple months, or freshmen that are just starting and have a vision, or sophomores that have no idea what they're doing. What would you give, a piece of advice to somebody in college or your college self?
I would say don't get too fixated on feeling like you have to figure out the role you want for the rest of your life. Those things become clear over time. Any job that you inhabit, you're going to be tasked with having to solve some type of problem. And so you just have to figure out what kind of problems do you enjoy spending your time solving. And if you can focus on that and focus less on the role that you want to have, those things will work themselves out. I think most of the jobs that I have progressed into over time were jobs that didn't exist prior to that. So they all came to be over time just through again, stretching and being willing to take on assignments that weren't within necessarily the bullet points of my defined job description, building a network of people who knew that they could trust me and rely on me, and then letting those things work themselves out over time.
Yeah, I'd say the advice that I took when I was in college and what I continue to tell students as they're kind of walking through this time is you do have a lot of time in your day, and this is a great time to experiment on what you have passion in, what you enjoy doing, where you want to prioritize your time, what you care about, what kind of community do you like to be in, and finding whatever way that is. You know, for me, I loved the business club. I loved being a part of that. I loved the Warrior fan club. I loved sports. I played sports. And to me, those things were really important, and that's where I wanted to put my time. And although I don't currently play basketball right now, I do still care about sports, and I'm on a Kansas City Sports Commission board, and I get to still hear about sports and elevate sports in Kansas City and try to figure out more ways to bring that to our market. And we also talk about women in sports and how important it is for female athletes to see what future roles are available to them. And a lot of people who are in roles were athletes. And so those things I really care about, and I've transitioned past my time at Union in a different way, but I still have a passion in it, and that's really brought a lot more joy into my life. It's where I enjoy spending my time. And so I'd say this is a great time to experiment, to try new things, to go talk to different clubs, to figure out how you could lead those clubs or make your own club that you really care about. So that way, when you get into that first job and you don't have all this wonderful community around you, where are you going to get plugged in, and where are you going to be fulfilled and find joy and the people that you want to surround yourself with?
I would say I have two thoughts here. My first is that so many of the people I went to school with, I now have the pleasure of continuing to work with. And so the relationships that you're making and building here at Union can carry forward into your life. And relationships are really what make the world go round. It's who you know and how you get connected to not only your social networks, but also just other opportunities. So relationships are really important. And then my second thought is, I get asked often, how do you get to these jobs? Because college kids they see and want to be a CEO, and they want to know how to get there. And my advice is just very similar to what my ladies have said up here. Find something you're passionate about, that you're really good at, and then go be good at it. And don't worry so much about what promotion opportunity is there or what you're trying to get to next, because people will see that you're excellent. And then actually, I forgot to add this, be fun to be around, because nobody wants to promote somebody that's not fun to be around. So I want to promote people that are showing me they're highly talented and skilled, can take on stretch assignments, and that I enjoy seeing them every day. And so that's my advice. Like, find something that you're great at, go be good at it, and people will learn to trust you, and they'll want to give you opportunities to learn and grow. And then your job is just to grab it and show them that they were right.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, for your time and just for talking with us. If you guys get an opportunity to talk to any of these ladies or any of the ladies that are here from Advent Health, it is so worth your time. They are so wonderful. So thank you again so much for your wisdom and for sharing with us. And Ariel, this is for you. Oh, thanks.
We can, look at their cool fits, guys. They look so cool. Okay. So whether you're a business major or you're not, I feel like this is just really impactful for us to know that leadership positions are everywhere. And like they said, choose problems that you enjoy solving and put your mind to it. And it was really, really insightful. And thank you guys so much. Okay, guys, this is it. uGather's over. Thank you for coming. We'll see you guys at family worship tomorrow. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And if you want to talk to them, I'm sure they would love to talk to you. Okay, bye.